let's talk a little about beauty and creativity and my beauty philosophy and just what beauty has been in my life in general. I am using the Shea Moisture Bond Repair Line Leave-In Conditioner. I love how this one smells. I actually really like this line in general, but I love the smell. Beauty has been a big part of my life, like just the understanding of it, the thinking of it, and how it plays in my life. And I think that's mainly because I grew up as an actress on TV, and so attractiveness, general understanding of your overall like appeal and how the world kind of receives you has been just a big part of my existence. I grew up in a lot of like predominantly white spaces. I grew up in the suburbs of Toronto, and so when I went to school, like there wasn't a lot of girls that looked like me. There wasn't a lot of people that looked like me necessarily. And now that same community looks completely different. But when I was in school, like yeah, it was not like that. And so beauty was, it's just an interesting part of my life. My earliest memories of beauty are like in my home. My mom, my grandmother, the women in my family. My mom is like a woman of the 70s, so she was all like natural and flowing hair. My mom she was just always like, put water in your hair, you're fine. And her hair texture is similar to mine, maybe a little different, and so like maybe just a teeny bit looser. So for her, that was very normal, but when I was growing up, I used to be like, Mom, I'm gonna need more than just water. And my grandmother is like Frank Sinatra era. She's like high glam, hair done every 2 weeks, roller set, nails done, full glam all of the time. And my family is from the West Indies, so Caribbean beauty was a big part of my life. And I had everything in my family: light skin, dark skin, loose hair, kinky hair, all of the stuff. And so you kind of got to see this full range of it. I'm also adding this Mix Chicks Coil Kink and Curl Styling Cream. I don't know if you guys have ever used this. I love this. I think it's meant to be a leave-in, but it's kind of got a bit of a hold to it, so I tend to use it more like a holding gel. I grew up watching Sesame Street, and on Sesame Street was Celia Cruz, and she was a black woman, an Afro-Latina. She had an accent, she spoke Spanish, she was bold and bright and loud. She was probably my earliest memory of like visually seeing someone on TV and thinking, wow, that's a beautiful woman. That woman is like the people in my family. She is an immigrant, she's Caribbean, she's all these things, and she's bold with her look and with this everything about herself. And I just always think of that. Like whenever people talk to me about like, where did beauty start for you? When did you learn it? What did you see? I'm like, I always think of Celia Cruz. It like just bang in my face, because yeah, when I was a little girl, Celia Cruz, oh my God, she was like the bee's knees. And then yeah, I was a total 90s kid, so it was like Aaliyah, Destiny's Child, SWV, TLC, Chili specifically in TLC, who I just love. She looked like my cousin. It was like, oh man, that is, yeah, there we go. I always say that I felt like I had a lot of examples of beauty of black women of color in general when I was growing up. Like it just felt like I got to see this all of the time. But then as well, like yeah, I was literally in entertainment, and so from a young age my hair was my beauty. Like people really reacted to my hair. White people, black people, Asian people, it didn't matter the group. They really reacted to my hair. So I learned from a young age that my hair was like a big part of my beauty journey. It was like, just like all the things, the prep of it. Every Sunday, my mom would sit me down and we'd prep my hair and whatever we were gonna do. It could be a style, if I was wearing it down, if we knew I had an audition or something the next day. Like it really depended on what was to come, but Sunday was our day. And in that time, we'd also watch fashion television, which was a show from the 90s that showed you like behind the scenes of the fashion scene. We'd watch, you know, like a Miss America pageant. We'd watch like a lot of beauty focused things, music videos, things like that. Janet Jackson, Pleasure Principle, like that was what my pop culture beginnings were, like just learning it and seeing it. And so yeah, from a young age, I started to understand that like taking control of your look, being inspired by art and creating a look for yourself could be really empowering. Like that it was a good thing, that you could control an element of beauty. Because like I said, even though sure, the hair I had was just the hair I was born with, but my mom had all these ways of being able to manipulate it. If we wanted it big, if I wanted it tight, if I wanted it very curly, if I wanted it very loose, there was just so many ways to kind of do my hair. And these were the things we were doing to book a commercial or get someone's attention, or we had a meeting and okay, this person is interested in Andrea for this thing or that thing. Well, how are we going to show up? What are we going to wear, and what color should we wear that's going to do well on your skin? And so, yeah, I always say I was very fortunate that I grew up in a house where beauty was emphasized, but it was also emphasized in this way where it was like in your control, like you could change your look at any time. I always had long hair, and that's just something I liked, but it wasn't necessarily forced upon me to like keep like, oh, you have to have long hair or else. It just was like, yeah, I just always had long hair. My mom had long hair, my dad's hair grew very quickly, so that was just kind of the thing. And so, yeah, but the more important thing was like creatively, whenever you want to feel empowered, you could start with beauty. And so, yeah, as I became an adult, I found that beauty was such a part of the stories that I like to tell, the things that I like to do. And it is like I said, it's kind of like the base of a lot of my creativity, is just thinking about beauty and talking about beauty and understanding it. And I've always been fascinated by it, which is why I've always paid a lot of attention to kind of like what's happening in pop culture. I loved seeing the change in our community with the natural hair movement in general, like talking about it from a YouTube perspective, like just seeing, you know, the creators kind of come online and start to kind of empower themselves, talk about products and figuring it out and that whole entire thing. Like, I'm like, yeah, I use examples like that all the time of being like, that's kind of how beauty was taught to me when I was a little girl. It was just like, in despite of what was happening around us, you could still control this. Even if I was looking at magazines and say the faces didn't necessarily look like my mom or myself, like we would still be like, oh, but how could we use this? Like, how could we make this look work for us? How could we do something similar? And that's still to this day how I treat beauty, which is kind of was the basis of the Black Beauty Effect, my doc series, which is a 3-part series. It has an episode on makeup, skincare, and hair care. But the goal for me with that series, more than anything, was to highlight, like, in the midst of not being considered the beauty standard and not being treated fairly and not having products for us, we still were creating. We still were creating our own lane. We still were redefining what beauty meant to us. We still were doing our own thing. And that is very much how I grew up. That beauty was used as a weapon for creativity, was used as a space to do what you wanted, and that you didn't have to listen to anybody else's point of view on you, that you got to tell the story. And that was Black Beauty Effect in a nutshell. And that's kind of how I treat creativity as a whole. Whenever I start to feel frustrated about life, about where I'm at, about, I don't know, this isn't working or this person's not listening to me or something like that, I always go back to what I can create, what I can build, what I can have control over, and who I now want to be, how I now see myself. And beauty is often the start of that. It will, and I mean it in the sense of like, how do I want my hair to be? How do I think my makeup should be? How do I think I look in this time where I am now going to armor myself and empower myself to move forward where people are trying to block me? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Anyway, I'm gonna dry my hair a little bit and let's continue this. Okay, dry hair. Took me like 30 plus minutes, but nonetheless, diffuser, you know the deal. As I was saying, my hair has honestly been the biggest part of my beauty story because it holds all of my power. I'm like a real believer in that, like that your hair is your crown. And for me specifically, I don't know if it's because I'm a Leo, I don't know what it is, but my hair has been a big part of my journey. And in the last little while, I have been in a space where the thing that I am thinking about a lot is not changing myself, but rather coming closer to myself with my beauty. As in, just now analyzing and looking back and looking through and thinking, oh, I always go back to this color and this color makes me feel really great. Or I really enjoy when I'm wearing things like this. Or my young self really loved being in items like this, or loved when her makeup looked like this, or something like that, which is just getting back to me. Versus in the past, I would more so be like, okay, what about me needs to transform? It needs to change. Or should I be dyeing my hair? Or should, you know, like what needs to change? And that sometimes could work for me for different seasons. I've had every hair color. I always say that. Here's proof to show you. And in those eras of my life, a lot of those choices were to do with empowering my creative self. Was because maybe I was making an album, or I was making a series, or I was doing like a new photo shoot, or I wanted to be a part of a certain magazine or something of the sort, something creative. And in the last little while, my empowering thought has been, you have always been a creative. You are always in love with beauty, and beauty always informs your creativity. But let's now just get back to the original version of ourselves. Let's align with who we've always been. And I think of beauty like that overall, that when you look back into the foundation of your life, oftentimes like that one image of that person or somebody in your family or something like that it was just kind of always there, like screaming at you in different ways. Even when I was a little girl, like the women that intrigued me the most were women that were very free, were very artsy, were very fab. Like I had an aunt like that. I remember we went to visit this aunt that I had. She lived in like a loft, and it was full of art and full of just things that she had in her travels. And I remember her skin was so clear and so just like shiny and healthy. Like she really didn't have much makeup on, and her hair was slicked back, and she had on this dress, and it was kind of like in like a jewel tone colors, almost earthy jewel toney kind of colors were throughout her entire place. And I just remember thinking, this might be the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. like it really just was like, oh my goodness. I only saw her one time. And so that brings me back to, like I said, like a big part of my creativity has been influenced by beauty on a whole. And when I see beauty and when I think about my own beauty journey and my own creativity journey, I'm in a space where I'm putting the two things together. I think that they go hand in hand. In the last couple years, I've had a lot of glam moments, and the glam for me is so important. It really is this thing. It's like, it's strategy, it's joy, it's empowerment, it's femininity, it's love, it's all these things when I think of glam. And so the older I get and the deeper I get into my own creativity and my own, you know, girl bossness and all of the things, like just really owning exactly who you are, the more that I understand how important beauty is to me and why I like it, why it sticks out for me, and why it's this thing. And that's why I would have a docuseries called The Black Beauty Effect, kind of emphasizing the way that I've seen beauty and how important beauty has been in my life. And the best compliment I ever receive is when somebody watches it and they're like, wow, it made me feel nostalgic and aspirational and excited, and then also proud that I was a part of this community. I'm like, that's the way you are supposed to feel, because that is what beauty has been to me. And so as the creator and as the executive producer, like, oh, that's my influence on the story. But more than anything, my beauty philosophy is that put your creativity and your beauty together. Understand that the two things meet each other and that they're meant to express every single part of you. If you are a creative woman, but maybe, you've been overwhelmed by your hair or by your makeup or by all of these things, start to think about it more like you are the art project as well. You are the expression. You are the walking billboard. So present to me the way that I should think about your art, just in your physicality. This was just my thoughts on beauty and creativity. Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about beauty? How do you feel about creativity? What has it been like in your creative journey to express yourself with your beauty and vice versa? Are you learning? Are you relearning? Are you changing? What have the eras of your life actually look like? Because yeah, they all matter. And I'm realizing every day that they really matter to me.